And now I would like to welcome our next founding member of C, the BAE Systems. Boy, I'm having a tough time. It was at lunch. So let me see if I can start this over again. BAE Systems has been a founding member of C for the last 8 years, and it gives me a lot of pleasure to bring on stage the executive site manager of the Ontario facility for BAE Systems, Cindy Carpenter. So would you now welcome her to the stage, please?
Well, that's really great. I got music as an intro, too. So let's see. I want to thank Kimberly Hawkins for reaching out to me, inviting me to this session. It's really been a lot of fun so far, and I've learned a lot, which I think that's what this is all about. I think the information sharing, the communication between the suppliers and the customers and what's changing and keeping up with so many changes in this environment. A little bit more background on myself, Cindy Carpenter. I've been in the defense aerospace industry for 29 years. Started out in General Dynamics here in Southern California, and then worked on space programs at Aerojet Electro Systems, which is now Northrop Grumman. Worked at Loral, Lockheed Martin, which ended up all becoming BAE Systems, and so I can claim 21 years with BAE Systems at this point. I do run the site out in Ontario. I've been doing that for about 10 years. However, I have had board-of-list responsibility for a number of programs run out of multiple sites. So on the East Coast as well as in the UK. My primary customers have been the UK MOD, a number of DoD companies, or DoD, Army, US Air Force, US Marine Corps, and as Dan and I were chatting, Boeing is a significant customer. And we're proud to be Silver and Gold Award winners in the past 5 years. So this is really interesting. In terms of Lean, I'm a program director, so I'm not in the supply chain management organization, but I expect everything to go perfectly. So as a tier 1 supplier and as a prime, I don't want any problems, and I think the experiences that I have had with suppliers is primarily changing commitment dates, and that can be a severe impact to my programs. And so I need it to be seamless, I need it to go out without a hitch. And so I'm going to share with you today a little bit about the BAE Systems organization and an overview of that, because I think a lot of people get confused. There's a lot of different companies that have merged together over the years, and I'm going to be focusing on the electronic solutions sector, which I am a part of, and then go into some of the things that are going on with our supply chain management and how we've actually been going through quite a bit of a transformation. Okay, so BAE Systems, we are foreign owned. BAE Systems PLC is our owner. We are the second largest global defense company in the world. We have over 100,000 employees. We have customers in 100 countries. We cover air, land, and sea. Our market segments include services, platforms, and electronics. So our US-based company is run by Linda Hudson. She's our president CEO. And we have a support solutions services sector and our product sectors. So I'm part of the product sectors. You may be familiar with Dennis Bent. He is on your customer advisory board. He is part of the Inc. group. He runs all of the indirect procurements, and he's also VP operations for land and armaments. So I reached out to him as I was asked to speak and get a little bit of feedback from him on the organization as well as what they're doing in land and armaments. We also have platform solutions. They actually were part of my site for a number of years, but that is a different sector. And so I'm pointing this out because if you do work with BAE Systems, it may be a little different how they work with the supply chain. And then the electronic solutions team, which I'm a part of here, run by Tom Arsenault. So we have 5 major business areas or technology thrusts, and communication network solutions, electronic combat, intelligence surveillance. All of this is, the core around this is our technology solutions group. We are founded with a lot of cutting edge technology, and that feeds all of our markets and businesses. Jim Crouch is our Survivability and Protection Solutions VP General Manager. Most of this team is based out on the East Coast, and I report through his chain. So in terms of our footprint, again, this is electronic solutions. You can see that we have a number of sites, some very small. We have one in Israel. We have one in Honolulu, Hawaii. Everyone looks at the job board all the time to see if there's an opening there. And we just acquired the Fairchild Imaging group out in Milpitas, California. That was very recent, early this year. We have 8,700 employees, as you had seen up on the chart, and we do a little over $3 billion of revenue a year. So in terms of our origins, I was talking about my heritage companies, and you can see that quite a few groups came to form BAE Systems. A number of people always ask, what does BAE stand for? Well, it doesn't stand for anything. Originally, British Aerospace and Marconi Electronics originally formed, but that was a long time ago. And then you can see Electronic Solutions, which I am a part of. The sector is fairly new, formed in January of 2009, and you can see that we are certainly looking at acquisitions, and we've got a couple of new players on our team. Our customer base, I think, probably interesting for you to see. We do definitely have a large percentage of customers where we are prime to the DoD. I do a lot more international business than some of my peers. However, you could see the UK MOD is on here, as well as some other international work. I resonate with Dan's comment about doing business in other countries and the offset requirements, which are quite challenging. And so if we are working with a Boeing and they have offset obligations, they will be following that down to us as well. And then you can see we have the platform OEMs is also major customers for us. And platform types, predominantly aircraft, helicopters, large aircraft, the Joint Strike Fighter F-35, tactical aircraft, a number of Boeing aircraft, Chinook, I mentioned Chinook, Apache, and a lot of our equipment go on those types of aircraft. So I mentioned technology solutions is kind of the core. We're technology driven. That feeds the rest of our business. In fact, a lot of the capability that's built there is used across the board. Our electronic combat solutions team is mostly the Joint Strike Fighter. They do other things, but that's a major program for them. The communication and network solutions works on tactical networks for network-centric operations. And our soldier and vehicle solutions group, they are based on the East Coast. However, they have a large group in Austin, Texas, and they do optical imaging and precision targeting. Intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance, ISR. They also do optical imaging and signal intelligence. They do quite a bit of space work as well as Navy. And I'm part of the Survivability and Protection Solutions group. These are a mouthful here, but we primarily work threat warning and countermeasures. So self-protection for aircraft, the products and development that I work on essentially protects the aircraft and crew from threats, ground or air. The people at the center of our skills in our development, I think we all know that we have an aging population. A lot of the skills and experience is, at least technically, I think it's a challenge for our country to continue that. I'm a part of the STEM advisory board and talking to young people about trying to enter into the sciences and engineering, and I think that's something we need to really continue to do, because we certainly see, I'm starting to see that in the customer community and internally. But our technology management, we have a lot of development that we have on lasers and sensors, and we have high laboratories where we do sophisticated testing, where we do hardware in the loop to look at different ways to counter threats. And again, that's a really important part of our mission. So what resonates across electronic solutions is we protect those who protect us. I can tell you I've been to pretty much every site in ES, and this is what keeps us all together as a team. This is a very important value set for us, whether we're delivering to Boeing. Ultimately, the end user is going to be someone who puts themselves in harm's way to protect us. So this is really key. And so the whole discussion around understanding the customer needs and their expectations, I think, becomes very critical to the supply chain discussion. So I wrote down a quote from Kenny in his presentation out of SMS Technologies, and part of his lessons learned said operational excellence is multiplied many times over when it's applied to the entire value stream. So this is what's happening in our organization. We started a journey a few years ago, and obviously we wanted to be more proactive rather than reactive. We also understand that our suppliers, we are very dependent on you, and you're dependent on us. So if you don't succeed, we don't succeed. And so I'm right here at this end. And so everything you guys have been talking about, the Kaizen, the Lean, the Kanbans, the SMIs, I don't really see day to day. I just want the output. And if this is not Lean in any part of our supply chain, then I'm not going to bring as much value to my customer as I could. And part of that really involves communication and understanding what the customer needs are. So that's what I do. I partner with the supply chain to try to give them more information on the customer buying behavior, helping them understand their needs. I mean, you know, Kenny says they ramped up production, they gave them everything they want, and they said, stop, we have too much. Well, this happened to me before too, but that certainly isn't, they should have been aware of that, and how to identify that, I think, is critical to the process. And then on the other side of this pull, this demand-driven supply chain, is our integrated partnership agreements. So what we're doing at BAE Systems is we are trying to work with fewer suppliers. We want to have a sustaining long-term relationship with fewer suppliers. So it might be different, I don't know, than some of the other companies. Obviously, everybody wants everyone to be lean. We want to have good communication. We want to help and have long-term agreements. But in this case, we have about 10,000 suppliers in our supplier base. We'll continue to use some of them. We don't use them all the time. But we're really looking at reducing our supplier list, the ones that we work with on a regular basis, to the hundreds, not the thousands. And so the philosophy around this is that we invest in you and you invest in us. And so I know that we've had many successes along the way, and we've had also some lessons learned, and that's being built in as continuous improvement as we look at this. In terms of what we needed to do, there was a lot of re-engineering, and quite frankly, I knew that our supply chain folks were very busy, and they're making a lot of changes, but we made a lot of investment in automated tools. We also reorganized. We combined, for instance, the buyer and the planner function. We tried to reduce as much. What we call it in our organization is take the gudge out, eliminate waste. So it doesn't matter if it's supply chain or wherever it is, we're looking for ways to take the gudge out, because overall, some of the things that we've been doing for years, what Art talked about in Toyota and in operations, can really apply to the other functions. So What's really interesting here too, I think, is our supply chain group has a strategy. And they've articulated it, and it's been the same and consistent over the last few years. So no surprise, want to provide the highest quality, affordable products to our customer on time, every time. And I have to tell you, the requirements out of customers, certainly it's not even on time, every time, it's just now, right? And we are always looking for ways to figure out how to solve our customers' problems. And you know, it's getting very challenging, and looking at ways the customers can help us, and I talk about customers with end users or Boeing. We need to work with them on more easier contract vehicles, BOAs, if you will, longer term agreements. We have even had some, what we've noticed over the years is sometimes there'll be a spike in a requirement due to something that's happening overseas. And so we put into place what we call a surge requirement. And so this allows us to ramp up very quickly, and we've done that with quite a few customers, and it's been very helpful. So again, I'm here. Sorry, I guess there's a few buttons I need to push, but anyway, the mission, very wordy. But in terms of our strategy, the supply chain organization said they really needed to partner with the business areas more. And so that's me as the program director, running a number of programs and really getting more insight into the customer needs. Because we don't want to tell our suppliers we have a forecast of 1,000 a month when it really turns out to be 200 or 3,000. And so as we refine that, we're getting better and better at that. We want to have the integrated partnerships with you. And I'll talk a little bit about how we're doing that assessment to make the suppliers we work with a smaller pool. Guaranteed material availability. I mean, we've been laughing about, he keeps the inventory, but that certainly is a negotiation. Perhaps not with Boeing, though. But collaborative development of supplier capabilities and technologies. I said that technologies really fuel our business. And so we want to share and also collaborate with you because you have a lot of smart things going on in your organization and getting that technology sharing. Subcontract management, this is a little more complicated, and I'll talk a little more about that in another slide. And in general, I think one of the things that we don't want to forget is what we call governance, and we have some compliance things that we need to meet, whether it's ethics or ITAR or just in terms of policy, but we try to be flexible and we look at ways to tailor things, but keeping on top of compliance because one bad problem can turn into a big one. So in terms of this pyramid here, really the message is, and I think Art said that, you got to start things right. Here's the foundation. Here's all the things we need to do. How are we getting to customer satisfaction? How are we going to continue to win business, keep business? Because it's really a lot of competition out there. The other thing that I have found in working with suppliers is they lose the recipe from time to time. And that's when I end up, working as a program manager on the supplier side is when we have a problem. That's really, essentially when it catches my attention. The long-term agreements we discussed, I think everyone's doing that here. We have something called the integrated supplier partner agreements. Again, fewer with a much more in-depth relationship. And again, ultimately, the whole goal is customer satisfaction. So as part of the supplier assessment, we have teams led by very senior people, and we talked about it's so important to have leadership and senior leadership involvement and at least agreement and alignment with what the teams are doing, and we certainly have that at BAE. All of our supply chain leadership has been involved in a number of activities. They go out on site with about 4 or 5 teams that really evaluate every aspect of your company. And it goes beyond just a regular ISO audit or inspection. It's really to ensure that we understand your processes, how you're doing your human resources, your workforce development, and if our value sets are going to match. I mean, there's been cases where it just wasn't a good match, even if it was a good supply house, and they didn't really want to make the commitment. There's a number of categories that you're assessed on, and I have another chart on that. And really, not only focusing on strengths, but focusing on weaknesses, because not to say, okay, well, these are some bad things. It's what do you need to work on? What can we help you with on a continuous improvement plan? And that's the expectation, if you are to become a preferred supplier, is that you will commit to that kind of a plan. So the core categories or criteria is shown on this chart. Whoops, excuse me. And these were a number of suppliers that were evaluated. Blue is world-class. Green is above industry standard. And you can see there's a lot of different colors here. We're looking at a number of different things in terms of capability and quality first. And we make an evaluation. And in this case, we're further ahead, more mature in our mechanical type suppliers. And really this is an extensive process. It takes a lot of time and commitment out of our supply chain team. And we also know it's an extensive process for you. But in the long run, we hope to have a long-term relationship that's really going to pay off. So this really, again, is not for everyone. We after these assessments, and there's some qualitative assessments as well, we put together an integrated supplier partnership agreement. And in a way, it really works if we sign that contract and we put it away. Because if it comes down to looking at crossing the T's and dotting the I's, you really don't have the relationship to keep it going. So it's not about the negotiations down to the contract, which maybe in the past we've been used to doing. And all of our preferred suppliers, as I said, must commit to the improvement plan and commit to their development, and we support them. We have teams that go out and participate in this process if they need help. And so, again, we offer our resources for the training because we made the time upfront investment. If we're going to, we want to make and keep you successful so we can be successful. We are hoping that we're doing a two-way communication where the suppliers give us feedback on ways to improve the system. And we also find that even with the vendors that are selected, suppliers that are selected, let's say all the machined suppliers, they are collaborating as well because there's a select group that we're working with. So in a way, it's guaranteed work. That's really, we'll compete amongst our preferred suppliers, but essentially we have quite a bit of work, and I think there's enough work to go around for that group. The other thing that we're doing is really the predictive tools to give us an indication when things are going wrong. We don't want to find out after the fact. We don't want surprises. So we're coming up with ways to help evaluate a potential problem. And so people have to really be open to this because here's a list monthly. Our supplier review board, which is made up of mostly directors, look at all of our supply chain, but in particular our preferred suppliers. So you can see here that we have some in the red, we have some in the yellow, and we have some in the green. And that's okay, because what we want to know is there something going on there? Is there too much volume, a capacity? There's a lot of criteria. I don't know all the algorithms that go into this, and it may not be perfect, but we are trying to get some predictive tools so we know and can help fix the problem before it becomes a problem. So how have we implemented this? I mentioned that we do things differently across sectors, but we do have some enterprise level strategies. And one of those is with the passive active electronics. There's a lot of parts. We don't want to really engage in that. That's not what we do best. So we do leverage across our sectors there. And then we also have our sector level strategy, ES, for mechanical fab, cable and harness, printed circuit boards. And so in each area, the focus is different. In the first area, it's transaction elimination and automation. And in the second case, we aren't necessarily building thousands of things there. It could be hundreds. It might be tens. So we really want scalability in how we work with our suppliers. And then the third one is our subcontracts, which normally have a statement of work, a specification, a little more complexity, probably a little bit of development, maybe some integration activity as well, and a lot more people get involved in that. So this is a little more detail on our enterprise level strategy. We want to remove all the non-value add, fewer transactions. We have 3 partners right now. 60% is just in time. We have a dedicated site on. They have a site in BAE Systems with their material that they own, and we have certainly agreements with them. So that's been working very well. And then for most of you, relative to what we're doing at the sector level commodity strategy, we're still making progress here. I think we have a ways to go. We want to improve the percentage that we're doing with our key suppliers. And of course, the types of things in the agreement allow us to be very flexible with customer requirements. When we want to do prototyping, which is very common with a lot of our customers. And a lot of these services are part of the agreement so that we don't have to create some other new vehicle to get all that done. And this one is way too complex, but this is where I normally get involved because it involves a subcontract. So it could be a dollar value, it could be software development, it could be a system integration activity. And really the message here is you need to communicate at all levels. It's very important to have senior level communication. It's very important to have the visibility at the working level teams and across the multifunction organization. We need to measure how we're doing, and we need to communicate when there are problems. I've been a subcontractor, and I've had subcontractors, and I can tell you over my years of experience that this is the only way it works. If you don't do it this way, then you absolutely, you will have problems. I've just seen it not work unless it's really a team effort, especially when you're looking at a high-risk activity where the complexity of a statement of work is used. So I'm learned something as I was preparing for this presentation is that we had a Lean Supplier Summit in February here on the West Coast. We had our first one on the East Coast late last year. We're preparing for another one. And again, this is where we bring all our preferred suppliers together. In this case, W Machine Works hosted it, and all but 2 suppliers came. So a lot of open sharing of what's going on in terms of the improvements made. And I think that's really where we see additional benefit to this approach. The other thing that I found out is in BAE Systems, we have a very prestigious award called Chairman's Award, and the nominations closed just on June 1st. But I've been informed that W Machine Works has been nominated as part of that process, and those are bronze, silver, gold. In gold, there's very few people who win at the gold level. But it initially started as technology innovation nominations, and it's grown and grown and expanded, and the partnering piece is very much encouraged. So something like that is an outstanding recognition, even just to be nominated. So congratulations for that, and we'll keep status on the progress there. So in summary, I think we've certainly seen results. It's not been easy. It's still going to be a journey for us. It does take a culture shift, and I think that culture shift is happening. We really continue to work hard at taking the gudge out. We need all of your support on that. And the more that we can get inputs from everyone, the more we're going to learn. And so that's where BAE Systems Electronic Solutions is headed. I've listed some contacts here. Steve Fuller is our Director of Strategic Sourcing. So now there's a title that didn't exist a few years ago. So that in itself is evidence of change that's happening. Susan King is our Small Business Liaison Officer, and Heather Casabian is our Supply Chain Operations Manager. And so between her and Steve, they really have the team that goes out, the experts, the black belts, the brown belts that go out, the engineers, the mechanical component, electrical, even the IT folks that go in and do these supplier assessments and then continue to work with those preferred suppliers to keep them successful in the long run. So that's all I had. Are there any questions? Okay.
Well,